Hello and welcome to the next episode of The Prop House. In this episode, we're going to be making planters out of old paint cans. So let's get started. So I started off by removing the paper around the can, the label and whatnot. And they used a bunch of glue dots down just the one strip of the can where the paper is glued together. And it wasn't too hard to get off. I used a lot of isopropyl alcohol and a lot of elbow grease, basically. And then from there, I made sure to scrub the inside because I didn't want any leftover paint on the inside that could affect the plant. So make sure you get it nice and clean. Scrub it really well and get it cleared out so that way there isn't any unnecessary chemicals surrounding the plant. Now, originally I wanted the rim to be completely silver, the original color of it, but after much scrubbing, I could not get the blue that came that was stained onto it off the silver. So I ended up just kind of going with it, just figured an extra color into the mix. It's definitely something that you could paint with a different color over it. If you wanted it to be all black, you could easily spray paint it, which I did to a second one that I do in this episode because I used some rust covering spray paint to clean up one of the rustier paint cans I had and I used for this episode. Now my original plan, what I had envisioned in my head was an all black container with contrasting white paint on it, and that way it would go really well with the green, or if you were doing colors like flowers coming out of it, the very colorful flowers, or the very vibrant green that comes from plants. This was a great example of what is in your head doesn't always come out in your hands or your work. I could not get it to look the way I wanted. I wanted kind of like a drip look. It wasn't clicking in my head that I should use a bottle with a nozzle and go across it. I did not have a white paint that used a nozzle. I only had a big tub of it that you have to dip it out with a brush. But this was a good reminder that sometimes what's in your head does not work out, and that is okay. Just roll with it. And sometimes you might get a better product than what you originally envisioned. Also, I want to throw this out. I like reusing a lot of the stuff I have. So this is giving new life to these old paint cans that just sit in your garage because you can't throw them away. And that's something I enjoy doing. But not everyone has extra paint cans just laying around that are almost empty. So, if you want, you can buy empty paint cans at different hardware stores. One close to my house sells them. You can get the big gallon and then the smaller cans. I can't remember how much they hold, but you can get those. The big gallon ones were about $5.99 and the smaller ones I believe were $3.99. So, not the cheapest option for planting stuff in, but you could get a really cool tin look with it because it's bare metal. You don't get the black plastic shell like this one has, but keep that in mind. If you want to do this but you don't just have extra paint cans around, you can buy empty ones, which I didn't know at the start of this. So let's talk about some of the mistakes I made with this. So after the white thing didn't work out, I picked out 3 different colors. I did a red, a yellow, and then a purple. Now I realized halfway through I didn't have enough purple, so I never actually used it on it. I just grabbed the blue I had. Mistake number 1 was using a dark color like the blue I had. I should have only done vibrant, very neon colors. I feel like that would have looked really much better. Mistake number 2 was I did all the paints at the top. What I should have done is started lower down, moved half in the middle, and then one at the top. That way I cover as much space of the black as possible. In the end, there's quite a bit of space at the bottom that isn't covered by the colors. And then the last thing I'd say is if you do the 3 layers, do a really thin layer of your bottom one, a medium-sized layer of your middle one, and then a thick layer of the top one. That way, you get less dripping at the bottom, so it doesn't just spill all over your table as much. The medium will hopefully reach the bottom, and then hopefully the top will also reach the bottom. So hopefully you would get this really nice layered look. Something I realized at the end of this, I wish I would have done it at the start because I think it could have looked way much better in the end, but I think it worked out. Lesson learned. So while that can is drying up, I thought we'd talk about my second can I did this time. So this one is the one that I had to spray paint the top black because of some rust, which I don't think is that big of a deal because once you cover it, whatever. But Florida will take its toll on these anyways. Something I'd like to point out, these black containers will probably soak up more water to the plant. So you might want to add mulching or something to the mix because black containers naturally heat up the plant more, which causes the plant to drink more water. Now, for this one, I wanted to channel my non-existent inner modern art expert. So I went with black and white kind of fractal lines at angles and stuff. Not really sure what I was going for, but I think it turned out pretty well actually. Starting off with just basic masking tape and then painting the white. I had to do multiple layers and I made sure to sand the spaces in between the paint for the best adhesion as possible. And to give you an idea, it took about 2 to 3 coats to make a solid enough white that I was happy with. One thing I ran into, and I don't know if it's the brand of masking tape or the angle that I took it off or whatnot, but the edges weren't as clean as I would have liked. They were definitely a little fuzzy, if that makes any sense. So keep a lookout for that. I made sure I'd pressed it down enough, but I may have not taken it off at the right angle, or maybe it's because it's a round surface and that let the paint seep in underneath the tape. And before you plant your plant into the planter, make sure you drill holes to allow water to seep through, especially if you're like me and inexperienced with gardening and you probably are watering it too much. Gotta make sure that water can drain freely. Well, this just in. No glamour shots today due to colossal failure. As you can see, the drip look, whatever you want to call it, bucket has tons of ripples in it. It has not held up well to rain or water in general at all, while the black and white one has held up very well. I'm not sure what makes the difference here. It could be multiple layers of paint, different types of paint. Maybe I didn't shake them well enough beforehand, or maybe it's because they're not, the paint can wasn't sanded beforehand. I'm not entirely sure, but it is quite frustrating. So maybe if you're going to do something like this, don't do the drip look. Do something else. Maybe paint something on, vinyl something on. Vinyl could look really cool. So yeah. Well, as you can see, there are some mixed results this week. The dripped look kind of came out doo-doo after rain hit it. I'm assuming it's because it was too thick and paint on top of paint maybe it didn't adhere as well, or maybe it's because I did not sand it like the other one because I couldn't predict where the drips would go. I'm not entirely sure, but sometimes it happens. Sometimes your project fails after you think it succeeds. But it will still work as a planter. It's still ready in time for the spring season, so that's something at least. I don't have a ton to say other than if you are making something like this, good luck gardening, and thanks for watching.